So the other area where New York is going to get ready to sing even louder because it has everything in this particular part. The email that deals with Trump being aware of Epstein and the girls down, granted, in Florida with regard to Mar-a-Lago, which is part of it, but why would it be New York would be singing on that? So Trump becomes aware of his very good and dear friend Jeffrey Epstein, and Trump is having all of his private encounters with these girls, which is the first email. But this one is like, hey, I know about these girls. Trump, during all of his bankruptcies, is finding that Epstein's profits are fairly stable and consistent, and let's just face it, it's a fun business. It's fun being a pimp. So what he does is, Trump obviously, with regard to the shutdown, really, really likes The Great Gatsby. He likes the Roaring Twenties. He likes all the gold stuff and all that stuff, right? That's the golden age that he talks about, because that's what the 20s were. That's what the the golden age is. That's what he likes. And so, but back during those days, there were powerful men in New York, wealthy, well-connected men who were building things and doing things. What would those men do at these Great Gatsby parties in New York and other locations? Well, they wouldn't just have a party like what you see over at Mar-a-Lago. They would have parties that would involve the finest of alcohol, the greatest of food, a little snuff, which under today's thing is cocaine, and of course prostitutes of every type and every shape. And as they would celebrate their successes as being masters of the universe, they would have sex with all of the prostitutes. They would basically have an orgy of pleasure and power. Well, guess what happened in New York? And it's been talked about for a long time, is Trump had these things called the one-stop parties. One place that they identified was Trump Plaza. We know these because we just are not just simply aware that they happened. We actually have people who put on the parties with Trump, who talked openly about putting on the parties, what was there, and what Trump was like. Now, the power structure of New York would protect these events, particularly if when you start hearing how old these girls were and what was there, that power structure is gone and New York can start to sing.
His name is Andy Lucchese. He was a friend of Donald Trump's in the 90s. Andy was a successful model who still does modeling to this day, working for Lock Management. Andy's face may seem familiar. He was the face of Tommy Bahama for over a decade. And in Michael Gross's article that ended up being published by the Daily Beast, for some unknown reason, Andy Lucchese allowed Gross to attach his name to his quotes.
That I was a recruiter for the parties. As for the parties themselves, there was cocaine around. Donald Trump did not do cocaine. He was in control of himself. Girls? Well, of course. But did he have sex with his female party guests? So, he's a man with a woman. How old were they? A lot of girls, 14, look 24. That's as juicy as I can get. I never asked how old they were. I just partook.
So literally the Times Square underwear model back then is the guy who was putting on these underage parties, golden age, Great Gatsby type things with underage girls reflecting Trump's knowledge of the girls. But that's not all. Trump had possession of the Miss USA pageant And then, what is it, like 97, 90, 97 or so is when he takes possession of the Miss Teen USA pageant. So he has access to all of these girls. He's close personal friends of Epstein. He is meeting in rooms with Epstein, girls, that Katie Johnson describes explicitly what Trump liked. And now you go to the next step. Because Trump is putting on these parties. So he also needs girls, right? So where do you think you can get the girls? The Miss Teen USA pageant. Because all of these girls are sending their resumes and their videos, the ones that are potentially vulnerable. Trump goes back into the back area and is inspecting these girls, of course, because some of those girls are showing up at the parties that Trump is putting on. And you're going to hear next, Uncle Luke of Two Life Crew, the man who made the song Me So Horny, literally explain about an underage sex event that he was invited to, held on by Trump in Florida, while Trump is in ownership of the Miss Teen USA pageant. But that is only the beginning. Immediately after that, we're going to have a little discussion about Trump model management and Trump's abuse there, which could be a great source of him being able to support his good friend Epstein, who he is aware of everything that Epstein is doing, and getting girls from Epstein to, like Katie Johnson. Next.
So these rooms, presumably there were women in these rooms.
Oh yeah, a lot of women.
Mm-hmm. How were they?
All over the room.
How were they dressed, Uncle Luke?
Half naked.
Half naked.
Half naked and some naked.
Half naked and some naked.
Yeah.
All right.
We had a house party. They up in there naked. All the women were enjoying themselves like they do.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, let me tell you, the thing is, when you're around, I've been around a lot of models and a lot of these pageant women, because that's what mostly it was. It was mostly pageant women.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of these women ain't of age. So when you got a whole bunch of these women running around, whether they of age or not, there's a lot of things going on. You just, some women look too young.
Oh,
so you keep it moving.
Pretty cool, huh? The man who literally wrote the song, Me So Horny, was invited with other celebrities to Trump's little parties where pageant girls, when Trump was owning the Miss Teen USA pageant, was there, and that sort of stuff. Of course, Uncle Luke left because Uncle Luke understood, 16 will get you 20. So he left. But now we have to go into the other area, the ability to supply girls to Epstein. The ability to provide girls to him. Trump had two avenues for that. One, as I told you about the Miss Teen USA pageant, but number two, and this is the most important one, Trump owned a thing called Trump model management. Now, Trump model management did not just go throughout the United States looking for girls. It looked around the world. And it made false promises. In fact, it got in trouble with the H-1B visa program, which, Trump right now is trying to, get rid of or cause hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to be able to get a person, but now says we need people with certain talents to come here. Well, yeah, certain talents, yes. When he was good friends of Epstein, knew about the girls, knew about the business. Trump was doing his one-stop parties, was bringing other celebrities to come to his own personal parties that involved underage girls and other girls, and bringing girls here under a false promise of earning $75,000 a year in late 90s, early $2,000, which is a comfortable living in the United States. You can live very comfortably on $75,000 a year, even in New York in early 2000. But this is what Trump did. And please, I just want to be very clear to you MAGA people out there who are going to say, well, I didn't know. No, this was all knowable. And it isn't just you, the individual MAGA, that probably could have known. It's the problem is that the Republican Party lacked the moral basic decency to sit there and say, you should never be president because you are exploiting girls from all over the world while you're friends of Epstein and running these one-stop parties. That is who you supported. So let's get into the Trump model management. Thank you.
A new report from Mother Jones in which 3 former models claim they worked illegally on tourist visas for Trump Model Management, an agency that is still up and running. Industry experts tell Mother Jones that this kind of violation was once common in the fashion industry, but model Rachel Blay tells Mother Jones, quote, honestly, they are the most crooked agency I've ever worked for, and I've worked for quite a few. Mother Jones reports that according to a financial disclosure filed by the campaign, Donald Trump earned nearly $2 million from Trump Model Management and still holds an 85% stake in the company. Trump.
I believe in you. In a video for this year's Sports Illustrated swimsuit contest, model Mia King is running a very provocative campaign for votes. Much like the man who owns the modeling agency that represents her, Donald Trump. Beautiful. It's not well known, but his vast business empire includes a modeling agency. Trump Model Management is not considered one of the top 10 agencies, but some of his models have hit it big, including his wife Melania, who, while dating him, posed on Trump's private jet for a British magazine. And as seen on this MTV reality show, Trump has been personally involved in recruiting talent.
You just signed with a model agency today, which is great.
But it hasn't worked out well for everyone. Alexia Palmer was recruited from Jamaica and brought to the U.S. by the Trump agency under a special H-1B visa program for foreign workers. In government documents filed by the Trump agency, it said Palmer would make at least $75,000 a year for 3 years as a full-time employee.
And did that seem like a lot of money to you?
Yes.
But she got nothing close to that from the more than 21 shoots, including this campaign for Iman Cosmetics. According to a lawsuit she's now filed, the Trump agency deducted some 80% of her earnings as fees and expenses, leaving her with a total for 3 years of only $3,880, plus some modest cash advances. And under her visa status, she could not work anywhere else.
I feel like I was a slave or something.
A slave?
A slave, because that's what slavery people do. Just work and work and work and don't get no money.
The Trump agency says it had a hard time finding work for Palmer, and that the $75,000 a year on the form was just...
So I want to close this out. At the end of this statement, you're going to hear about Andy Lucchese's full statement about what happened with the one-stop parties in New York, what the aristocracy's kind of mindset was, and, of course, what Trump was doing with underage girls, his quotes himself. But let's just be clear. If you are MAGA or Republican, don't give me the bullshit that you didn't know. It was completely knowable. It took me to be aware of Katie Johnson, to be able to understand what it is I've been watching all my life when it comes to Donald Trump. He's a sex addict. He is a sex addict who got addicted to taboo-style sex, which can be as addictive as cocaine, and that taboo-style sex was about underage girls. And if you look that up, the type of girls that he liked is the psychological state that people put themselves in when they choose that they are okay to have sex with girls that have matured to the age of 13 or 14, between 13 and 17. What those type of addicts, what they believe. Because that's what Trump is, and we've been watching this all our lives. It's time to remove him from office. And if you're MAGA, don't tell me you didn't know. Because the moment that you should have become aware about these things, or Trump's actions towards sexualizing his own daughter, should have told you something. Should have told you that there was a problem. But the problem is, you're so busy trying to piss off liberals and not paying attention to what is clearly right in front of you. A man who, when he was experiencing all of his bankruptcies, found a friend, Epstein, whose business was solid and successful and did not have these bankruptcies. So it looks like maybe Trump decided to support it, and possibly when it comes to the one-stop parties, to be in it. Like, share, subscribe, and let's listen to the last of these videos. And please, Trump's got to go. Like, share, subscribe.
Gross decided to dig a little deeper into Trump's past to find out more details about the legendary parties Trump used to host at the Plaza Hotel, which he owned at the time. It was well known that these parties were filled with minors. Many were young models trying to get their big break. It was a different world in the 90s. Sleeping with underage girls was just something that a lot of rich, powerful men did. No one thought twice about it. It was especially common in the fashion world. To provide further details on the parties Trump hosted, Gross found two former attendees who agreed to give details of what they saw going on. The first was a photographer who attended many parties, but requested that his name remain anonymous, for obvious reasons. Here's what he had to say.
Trump would take over suites on the corners of his hotel with views of Central Park and Grand Army Plaza. The attraction for the men was young girls assuming they'd get somewhere by joining the party. Of course, it never happened. Young models were attracted to the parties with a simple, time-tested pitch. You'll meet rich guys who will help you. It was networking, but on a weird, bizarre scale. The girls were as young as 15 and were in over their heads. They had no idea, and they ended up in situations. There were always dramas because the men threw money and drugs at them to keep them enticed. It's based on power and dominating girls who can't push back and can be discarded. There's always someone to pick them back up. Trump would go from room to room. I was there to party myself. It was guys with younger girls, sex, a lot of cocaine, top-shelf liquor, but no smoking. Trump didn't approve of cigarettes. The men at these parties often knew each other. It's a small community. They exchanged information, facilitated each other. Trump was in and out. He'd wander off with a couple girls. He was getting laid like crazy. Trump was at the heart of it. He loved the attention, and in private, he was a total fucking beast.
The second attendee Michael Gross spoke to was not only a frequent visitor at the Trump parties at the Plaza Hotel, but also helped to organize them by recruiting models. His name is Andy Lucchese. He was a friend of Donald Trump's in the 90s. Andy was a successful model who still does modeling to this day, working for Lock Management. Andy's face may seem familiar. He was the face of Tommy Bahama for over a decade. And in Michael Gross's article that ended up being published by the Daily Beast, for some unknown reason, Andy Lucchese allowed Gross to attach his name to his quotes. This is a prime example of how in the minds of many, a powerful man having sex with a minor in those days wasn't a big deal. As you'll soon find out when you hear his quotes, Andy is basically telling the world that he slept with underage girls, and that it wasn't a big deal. It's just something he did back in the day.
It's fair to say that I was a recruiter for the parties. As for the parties themselves, there was cocaine around. Donald Trump did not do cocaine. He was in control of himself. Girls? Well, of course. But did he have sex with his female party guests? So, he's a man with a woman. How old were they? A lot of girls, 14, look 24. That's as juicy as I can get. I never asked how old they were. I just partook. I did partake in activities that would be considered controversial today.